I have 5:32 p.m. on my clock. This is a meeting of the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. Those present for the record are myself, Commissioner Mchako, Commissioner Sanchez, and Commissioner Gutherds. Commissioner Santos is excused. And the first order of business is the approval of minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Mchako. Subject to written correction. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Unanimous. Four votes. Okay. And going down our agenda, there's no public comment, right? Nobody signed up?
Did we do?
Okay.
Did you do attendance?
Yeah, just now.
Sorry, missed it.
Okay. Yeah, I did. So, Miguel, you're up first. You did the GM report already. So, if there are any additional questions, are there any highlights that you want to present? Any additional information?
The only thing we added, sir, was on the first page of the management report, after the title page, the insurance summary outlining the changes in coverage with the May renewal this year. Because we wanted to point out to the commissioners that because of conditions within the market resulting from the pandemic, our broker was not able to place the same amount of coverage for public and products liability. Last year it was $50 million in coverage. They were unable to find anyone to cover that amount, so we renewed for $25 million. And they are still trying to package additional coverage for us to give us at least a proposal to reach the $50 million. Prior to agreeing, we did consult with bond counsel to make sure that there was no issues affecting the indenture if we were to change the coverage limit. That's right. So the bond counsel confirmed that it was a minor issue. He did not think it rose to the level of even bearing any disclosure in the POS for the upcoming bond. So we're good to go. We just wanted to point it out to the Commission's attention.
And the premium is?
The premium is slightly lower.
Okay, but it's not in half.
No, not at all. It's about the same amount for half the coverage.
Yeah.
And we anticipate if we get a proposal to make up the balance, it's going to be a significant increase to the premium for the year. And so
Then you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I got to tell you, in today's world, it's a crazy world, right? So I think all the people who are insuring people are really nervous and don't know what the heck's going to happen. That's just my take. Okay, so if there are no other questions for the GM for GWA, moving along, do you have any financial updates, Telling, or? I think we asked you for a listing. Or what was it we asked in your work session? No. Oh, the collection versus revenue, okay.
How's it going?
Just see a picture of what's been happening with our revenues versus collections over the year. So, you know, in March and April, you see.
How many of these might?
So this is just a picture of what's been happening for this fiscal year. And if we go to the next slide, we show revenues against demand. So you can see water.
Telling this is difficult to see. What page are we on?
What slide are you on?
Sorry, it's
On the board
Are we on the
books.
GM report or the financials?
The information's in the financials. I don't know if this got tacked on to board books. It didn't on the last one, so I don't think it's loaded on this one yet.
Okay.
But we'll email you. I'm sorry.
Maybe just talk us through the number.
Yeah,
just the number
slowly talk us through.
Yeah, I apologize. I just wanted to.
Chart on the left.
Yeah, the information is has been in the financial statements. This is just a picture to show you what has been happening with demand and against revenues. So the first slide was revenues and collections, and this is demand and revenues. So in the
And that's
last-
combined wastewater and water on the first slide?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So yeah. So this is total collections and total revenue.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez,
So Tali, in April, you're saying we were under, I'm sorry, the slide before.
go back to the slide. Yeah.
So we were under 8 million in collections in April, when we're closer to 10, 9 to 10. We saw a drop in
Yeah,
collections.
nine,
We saw a drop in
nine's about
collections.
the average, yeah.
I'm sorry, so we're a little below average collection
Yeah.
in April. Okay, are you seeing that in May as well? I mean, you're not gonna surprise
And the
us.
revenue's down too.
So last week we
Commercial?
saw
Huh?
some
Commercial?
increase in collections,
Uh-huh.
and we're
Commercial.
hoping
No, I think
to
this
see
is all,
that,
this is
From the
everybody.
stimulus.
No, I'm
this
just
week
saying that
also,
there's no
because of the
tourism.
stimulus
Stimulus.
Oh,
checks.
so the commercial's down, yeah, yeah.
But
But
the
overall revenue is down, right?
Right,
Okay, and overall collections is mirroring that, right? Also then, if you're comparing it to last year we had some back billing thrown into some of those months, right? And less of it this year, right?
Right.
You're much
Yeah.
closer to
Less
getting it
this
where
year.
you wanted it, okay.
what's interesting is that for some reason, November, I went back and I asked, are you sure that November number is correct? And they looked at November 18, and November seems to be
A bad
I don't know if everybody's buying turkey or, I don't know,
Yeah.
but.
Christmas shopping.
Christmas starting, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
Christmas shopping.
Okay.
Okay, so the slide on the left telling is what?
So the slide on the left is water revenues, and then wastewater, for
On
the
the-
commercial is a fixed rate, and then, the variable is commercial. So you can see in March and April, we saw a drop, in demand, I think mainly due to, government, saw the schools closed, so there's also a drop in government. And then this basically is, for this fiscal year, so this is demand and revenue. Demand is, what we, consumption,
Old, right?
Right.
So why is the revenue lower?
because we're seeing a increase in.
Oh, people
in
not paying.
residential,
But not in commercial.
And commercial's coming down, and residential's flat.
Okay.
It's a flat.
Okay,
So-
so commercial
so-
pays higher revenue than residential.
Commercial probably paid whatever they had to pay, but, and which was probably a lesser amount.
So that's why the billing
This
will
is
be down.
billed.
Yeah.
That's why the
but-
revenue. Okay.
Okay.
And then the last slide is just showing a picture of operating revenue expenses. And if you notice in April, expenses have increased, and that's because of the
Double pay.
increase in salaries.
Yeah, and your net income got smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was the last one. Oh, and I'm sorry, the financial indicators I think was included in the narrative. And so this was just a rehash of that. So we are seeing an impact to our debt service coverage, but our year-to-date is still above the indenture required amount. And typically, our collection ratio is closer to 98%, and you can see it dropped in April. And we're hoping to see it go back up as businesses open, as the stimulus money makes it into the market. Okay. That was it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts, commissioners? Sure, Commissioner
Is
Sanchez.
this the PUC meeting where they'll consider our regulatory asset request?
Yes.
Okay. Then you might get to amortize some of that expense.
That's the whole.
Okay.
If you amortize some of the expense, that helps you out with some of your ratios.
What that will do is decrease expenses.
Yeah.
Health coverage.
Help coverage, yeah.
Health coverage.
And is that why your cash on hand is at 280? What's the asterisk there, based on cost containment budget?
One of the reasons why the cash on hand, the days of cash on hand
And so on the employee count, you also have a plus sign on March 2020. Is there supposed to be a footnote associated with that, or is that just a typo?
I'm sorry, another date in there. What happened was, last month's number was updated. I believe it was, 376. So that was correct.
Increase in water customers.
Yeah, it's surprising.
It's by 600 in April.
You know, there's still a lot of construction that got started before. And it's just maybe now coming to the point where they're applying and actually getting a water meter. I see, you know, there's like 2 buildings right here in Manila, right behind the Winchell's and that Domino's Pizza, I guess. Yeah, where Jamaican Grill supposedly is gonna go, so those buildings are done, they must have their water. Okay, any other questions for Telling, or are we good? Okay, anything else, Commissioner? No. Okay, let's move right along to your resolutions. Miguel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First up is Resolution 18 FY 2020. This is the one that was tabled from a previous meeting, and we refined it now to include only the amounts that we're looking to write off for this year. The proposed amount to be charged off is about 1.84 million, which includes, for the most part, collectible receivables that are past the statute of limitations, and then there's some older employee receivables, which include costs for lost or damaged equipment, etc. And so we're seeking your approval to write charge this amount off for this year.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I move to approve resolution 18 FY 2020 relative to approving the charge-off of GWA receivables deemed uncollectible. Estimated amount is about 1.84 million.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Gutherds? Okay. The only typo again that appeared in this resolution is that it should be the year 2000 to 2016, just before the resolve clause.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have it corrected on the original, on the...
Didn't we have some employees from the year 200?
They were the early followers of Christ.
The ones that designed the aquifer, the
Yeah,
original aquifer design.
Yeah, the one
man,
in
they sure
the
can't pay
Roman,
that receivable.
the Roman aqueduct.
Yeah, but they've only had, 1,816 years to pay it down. I don't know what's the problem here. That payroll deduction part's not working very well.
Apologies for the
Okay,
typo.
so, any other?
Yeah,
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I know we discussed this in the working session regarding receivables, but, I would like to take a look at the CCU policy regarding these advances and just take a look at whether or not we should even allow them with ratepayer dollars going forward, just so we can avoid these type of things going, in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. I think we realized that when it's a receivable from the employee because he lost a piece of equipment, or that's something that, okay, so we're trying to acknowledge that, and hopefully there's some counseling going on, but we should never give an advance of any kind of money to...
If the employee rules and regs are followed, there's got to be some sort of action on the utilities part as far as a payroll deduction, right? Is this just that it was not implemented, or?
Most of these are,
Employees,
No,
yeah.
I know.
and the employees are separated, and sometimes what happens is I've seen this, in my experience, usually if people are, getting advances, there's something going on in the family, and sometimes they end up separating, and their last paycheck isn't enough to probably, amount to that.
Yeah,
No, but I think Commissioner Mchako's point is we need to I think Commissioner,
In terms of a procedure and making sure that
Yes.
it's payback, yeah, I
We
don't
need to
know
follow.
that this has happened under our watch. I think it's
Okay.
just, this is old stuff.
So maybe for the next meeting, working session, if we can just take a look at that section of the rules and regs that we have.
your policies,
The
so that we
policy.
make sure, you know, your personal rules and regs are good,
Yep.
and we get a better understanding, okay? Commissioner Sanchez?
You know, you still owe me, even though you're leaving me. The other thing you can do is just withhold that last check till you clear out, you know, everything you need to clear out, right? And in the absence of, if the last check's not enough, there's a promissory note or something, right? I mean, just so that, so, I mean, but it begins with looking at the policy. and then we
policy,
can
the
beat it
procedure.
up at our level and see
Yeah.
if we would recommend
We'll do that.
changes.
Okay. Okay, no further questions? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 4 votes. Okay, Miguel, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next is Resolution 25 FY 2020, and this is relative to approval of the terms of a proposed settlement for the claim against the Guam Water Works Authority by Ronald Blade and May Cruz. The damages arise from an employee reporting to a backup at the residence location, and he drove into the driveway while their electronic fence was still moving, caught the fence on the GWA official vehicle, and the fence sustained damage, and the cost of repair the damages were upwards of $13,000. So, General Counsel and management analysts have reviewed the claim and recommended a settlement of $13,000, and we're seeking your approval to move forward with this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 25, 2020 relative to approving the terms of a proposed settlement with Ronald Blade and May K. Cruz at a cost of $13,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Guthertz. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next up is Resolution 20, and this is perspective. We're requesting if it please the board, delegation of the authority to the general manager to settle government claims up to $50,000 so that we can avoid having to delay the claims process for amounts that are far less than the general manager's current.
Okay, so you had blanks on this one during the working session, I think, right?
We did,
So you filled in the blanks.
based on the commission's input, yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve Resolution 26 FY 2020 relative to approving GWA GM's, giving him the authority to settle government claims against GWA in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Second, Commissioner Guthertz. Any further discussion? Commissioner Sanchez.
Mr. Chairman, I also point out that the resolution requires management just to notify the CCU.
To keep us informed
Of
of
any claims
these
they-
cases, yes. At the next CCU meeting, right?
We included that as number 4 in the resolved portion.
Okay. Oh, okay, third, okay.
It's within 30 days.
Yeah, just fine, okay. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is adopted by 4 votes. Okay, Miguel, I think you're done.
I am done, sir.
And the last resolution is a joint resolution, so we'll take it up with GPA. John, you're up to bat. So,
Thank
You-
you, Commissioner.
thank you.
Thanks, Miguel. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Miguel. Thanks,
Kelly.
Kelly.
Have a good evening.
Yeah. So, John, you gave us some of your GM report.
That's correct, Mr.
Is there anything else do we have any questions on the GM report for John? Do we have any
There is,
additional?
in the last meeting, Mr. Chair, the board requested an updated,
That's the one we,
updated receivables from
the government.
government. And we provided, I believe it's in your
Is in the board books?
board books, if not.
Under
Under
financials?
finance, yeah.
How's it look?
Well, you know, it's looking better. They're paying, starting to pay. The one concern I have is DOE, and ever since GWA hired Tolling, we seem to be playing this particular, yeah. So again, they did make a little bit, 250,000 more, but they still owe us about 3.5 million.
Oh my God.
And so again, part of this is we were gonna, you know, we were keeping them within 60 days, but the pandemic started, and of course our policy is no disconnection. So we will let them know really that they have to try and figure this out. We're not disconnecting yet, but you know, they'll be our first target really after
They
this
received,
pandemic.
Didn't they receive like $28 million for the pandemic?
Yeah, and you know,
DOE did?
the ironic thing about all of this is that their bills used to be $1 million. Now it's down to 735, and actually it's going to drop another 10%. So it'll be about 600,000 for this period.
So they owe us 6 months of water bill?
Well, it was hovering on 2 months, no, to 3, but now it's increased now. So this is about 3.5 months now. So we will we'll let them know and be the first one that we will be. All the others are catching up, even street lights. I see they're doubling up now to try and catch up with that. And they really like what's this street lights, DPW, 900,084. That's like a little less than 60 days. So that's they're about 500,000 billing period.
So if you look at the bottom line number, your subtotal for this group, it's 4 million, just a little over 4 million.
Yeah.
And DOE is
3.9,
3.9, or what is
3.5,
it?
yeah.
3.9, right?
3.6 actually, Mr.
3.6,
Yeah.
okay. So,
So everyone
oh yeah,
else
that's
is
right.
there. Yeah.
So, it's quite a bit of that 4 million.
Yep.
Wow.
That's the, and again, we noticed that they've been having, you know,
Well, they are a big consumer, I get it, but, Commissioner Sanchez?
Did their billing go down? Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Did their billing go down while they were not running, teaching it from home?
this is for
By 300K?
735,000 versus typically about $1 million. No? Remember, the rates dropped in February,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
it
the
dropped
REACT
in April,
helped
so
them,
that's a
and-
20% drop. No? Then it's going to drop again in soon. No? So I would expect that they should be able to pay this stuff. No?
Yeah, I don't know, and I seem to remember, it seemed that, maybe not DOE, but UOG said that they were receiving their allotments. They weren't being withheld, so you need to find out from DOE, are they getting their full allotment? If they're getting their full allotments, they're not paying us, that's a big problem. And you need to tell them, say, we're gonna cut you off, and, John, you're usually just as a reminder for our commission, the way you do this is you say, we're gonna start disconnecting you, and we give you the choice of which school you want us to start disconnecting. Which, of course, they pick the one that doesn't have any chill units, or chillers, or cafeteria, and you disconnect that first.
That's right.
So that they go running to whoever they need
We let them know, and it's good that they understand. We let them know that we will shut them down on Friday, and they have the whole weekend to figure it out.
to. Okay.
And pay
Well,
us
we
by
leave it with
Monday,
you, but
Tuesday.
Commissioner Sanchez.
And that's when the kids are out of school. and
Yeah,
we-
they're out of
we-
school.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate everyone's gone through a challenging 90 days, but I also appreciate what you're alluding to, John. If they were to, normally we give people 6 months, right? So if you took the 3.6, that'd be 600,000 in 6 months. They could do current plus 600,000, but I'm with the chairman and our colleagues that they've got to start paying. Because once, each month you and Miguel have to decide now, and you're not going to have too many months left over to say
Yeah,
no more,
between now
no
and
more
the end of-
disconnect, right? You're going to have to at some point give enough people enough notice and start implementing procedures to get people in with proposed payment plans, so we can at least start to tackle that.
Before the end of the fiscal year
With
for
DOE,
them.
you got to give them a heads up as soon as possible, because
Commissioner
some
Sanchez.
people think there's a lot of money floating around.
Yeah.
Some of us are more skeptical.
Well,
So JB, is there just no response at all, or is there, was there any sort of commitment at all?
We're communicating and collaborating with the Department of Administration. So some of the issues is that the Department of DOA is waiting for the line agencies to submit their bills. So now we are CCing DOA when we issue the electronic bills. And so that seems to help get the bills paid sooner. A lot of them are just talking about being delayed because of COVID-19 being closed.
With DOE, reality really when Tolling left. You see, I
lost
kind of
some talent.
made that a little thing, but it's a reality. So we've had to tell John we were gonna shut it off, if you recall that, this year, and then he said, give us 2 million, otherwise it'll be shut off, and sure enough, we got the 2 million. So we're gonna have to get back to that again. We will talk to them again, but it appears they're using the leverage of the schools against us, and we've been there before, so we'll figure it out.
well, John, I think what the commissioners want you to do is reach out to them, and by the next meeting,
Mm-hmm.
we have to see a payment and a payment plan.
Well, I guess that's,
Commissioner Tucker, yeah.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess that's my concern, is that they haven't been in school, right? So the threat of shutting down the school and affecting the children hasn't been an issue for the last 60 days, so.
Well, I'm sorry, Commissioner. There's a building up there in Tijan.
Mhm.
That's the first target.
The admin building, yeah.
That's correct. So
Yeah.
So the next one, and we did tell them that the next one is a school, and it'll be usually Thursday. No, Thursday, Friday when classes are out, and of course
They're out right now.
none with cafeteria, and then that goes out.
Mhm.
And
How
then
about
that-
their
then-
offices? DOE
That's what he said.
That's the first,
one.
that's the
That's
first
the
one on
first
the
one.
list.
That's better.
And that's
So
number one.
we'll remind them again.
Remind them and then
I
cut.
hope we have good news for you, but.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
We were hovering around 60 days, and Thursday, we'll make it 90, and they were holding there for a while, and now it's gone from,
To what?
it's gone now to close to 120 days, from what I see here.
Okay. Yeah, so, John, for the next meeting, if it's truly over 90 or even over 120, I think we need another color category here, because all you have is 60 and over. I think it's much more critical if it's at 90 or 120.
Okay.
It should be colored red.
But you're saying that GDOE is already at 100?
If you take about $1 million on the high point in January billing, you're already there 3.5 right now.
3.5 months.
See?
Yeah.
1 month's current, so
Yeah.
they're behind 2.5 months.
And so,
Okay.
so we will, yes,
Well, it's a
we'll add
problem, John.
another,
You need to take care.
maybe red, no?
How about green for a check?
Well, whatever. You need,
I think you need to put them on
you need to put them on notice, and you need to get something out of them.
In terms of the demand and the net generation, it has been climbing now, and it's getting closer to the 2019. And of course, this week actually is the part of May when it starts to get to be the highest, and that's because of the heat, the weather.
Yeah.
But we are recovering the customers as more and more opens. So.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the GM? Okay. John, anything else with the finances? So that's it?
John has an April
John?
finances.
Okay. Oh, okay, John.
Perhaps if I just do the resolution first, Mr. Chair, and you'll go in sequence, I think, right? You have it there?
Yes, I have the financial there, the highlights, yes. Do you want to do the resolution first then?
If I may, Mr. Chair? do
It's
the
up to you. You want to do the
first?
resolution, but then we
and
need
the-
to get back to the highlights.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go to the financial because
Sure.
it's right behind it.
Okay. So start.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item is Resolution 2020-10, and thus requesting your authorization to solicit for a performance management contract for our Greco temporary power units. As everyone's aware, the units came online in 2016, and boy, time flies. It's 2021 next year, and the contract expires. The good news is that we own the units on January 9, 2021, and even with the taking over the system and having a performance management contractor, we'll go from a typical close to about $12 million to less than $4 million a year. So therefore, the savings from the new contract, the savings beginning January 9, it's about 8.1 million for Greco. It was a good decision, I thought, to own the machines, because for the next 4 years, 5 years, we will be needing to operate, so we're not paying the high capacity fee, which is like $6 million a year. So we bought the machines for about 4.5, which is like 1 year of operation. So again, we do need the machines all the way through until the power plant Okudu comes online. I think next month I'll be coming to you with a recommendation on even keeping the machines longer where it is, for some additional improvements in the system, a reduction in costs in the system. But Greco is going to be a part of us for a long, long time. And part of that is because they're quite reliable machine and they're smaller. So they're good for intermediate load or peaking. So you don't have to put on a 40 megawatt machine when you only need 20.
20.
You just put about 18 of these machines and you have your 20, and then the 20 more are just sitting by, standby. So you bring it up in step. So it fits right into the future plan of renewables. So again, this is the request for a 3-year base plus 2 additional 1-year potential extension will bring us up to 2026. The power plant will be on the line of 2022, 2023. So the two is 1-year options.
So John, once you get a proposed contract, then you bring that back to the board again. This is just to solicit.
Go to PUC for approval, because greater than 1.5 million, and then we go out and bid.
Yeah,
Bring the
that's what I'm saying,
contract
we're
to you,
soliciting.
yeah, and the PUC again.
Okay.
And because again, we're doing it now because it expires in January. No?
Yeah.
So we have time to get this done.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Guthers. Second, Commissioner Sanchez. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It's 4 votes, 4 aye votes. Record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anything else, John?
Last item, Resolution 2020-12 and GWA Resolution 27-2020, FY 2020. And this is the requesting for the CCU to recognize by resolution the employees of GPWA, Guam Power Authority, and Guam Water Works for all the work that they have done throughout this pandemic period. As everyone's quite aware that both Power and Water Service successfully provided service during this period of time. And again, during the pandemic period, we had to do more than just the regular 5-day emergency or anything. We had to get the business running, paying the payroll, vendors, contractors, everything like that, in addition to planning. In addition to restructuring the organization to address the health and safety risk of the virus itself on the utility and being prepared for anything that could happen that would help, that would prevent us from providing continuous service. And so this resolution is to recognize all the employees of Guam Power Authority and Guam Water Works Authority.
So moved.
So moved. Second? Second, Commissioner Sanchez. Anybody have any questions for General Manager? No? All those in favor signify. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. 4 votes, 4 aye votes. No nay votes. One
Finance,
absence.
please. Again, I showed you earlier about how the curves are all moving up. Here, see. So now even the demand is up, touching the blue. This past week. So this was from last week.
That's
over
peak
the week.
demand or gross demand?
Actually, both of them they run. So the one before, see, this is the peak. We're up to 241.
What was last year?
Last week we were up to 241.
And a year ago. I'm just curious without hotels, right? But the buildings still need to be energized, right? I'm just
No,
curious.
not yet. So they're not energized yet, but here we came up to right here. So we're hovering here now. Expect that to happen, but no, the hotels are not fully there. But
Right.
everyone.
But they have
Well,
some base, right? They gotta keep aircon.
Yeah, they gotta keep aircon
Water
on,
flowing and stuff
water,
like that.
yeah. So that's the thing. So again, there's also this the program of DSM is helping out because now we're right sizing the utility, the gap, right? See, it came down, but it's not so.
Also, the PPP allows you to do utilities.
Yep.
That's gonna help John Kim a little bit.
Okay,
Private sector
finance.
does it.
Okay, John.
April.
For April, we budgeted $13.9 million, and actual for April was $12.3 million. In the prior year, it was $13.5 million. We were down by $1.1 million. That equates to close to 8.4% revenue lower than last year.
How much of that is LEAC?
Oh, this is purely base revenue, sorry.
Oh, that's just base revenue?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes,
got it.
In terms of megawatt sales, we budget 135,000 megawatt sales. Our actual was 168,000, and our prior year was 132,396. So we were also down by close to 8.8%, down by compared to last year 11,000 megawatts. And in the following slide, in terms for LEAC, which is a fuel side, we budgeted $24 million. Our actual was 13. Also at that time, we also lowered the LEAC to 11 cents. So our actual was about $13 million. In prior year, our actual was $19.4 million. So we're more favorable compared to last year by $6 million. And this is all driven by LEAC price. In terms of O&M, we budgeted $6.2 million. Our actual was 5.3. We are favorable by $900,000 compared to budget. In prior year, our expense actual was 5.7. So we are favorable by $346,000. In terms of next slide, in terms of residential amount of customers, it went from 44,509 to 43,707. The difference is due to, we were looking at it, it was due to prepaid customers. So they were not, we're not disconnecting them, so they were clicking into an account. So if we include those prepaid customers, IT re-ran the reports are close to 44,455. A little bit lower than prior than March, but it's not dramatically lower.
How are they in terms of paying, John, the prepaid people? Are they paying?
The estimate is about there's about 1,000 or so. About
Prepaid?
300K behind.
300,000 behind. out of the 1,000 customers.
1,000 customers.
Yes.
300,000
K.
behind.
So it's not, well, it's significant, but not significant in the overall
Okay.
thing. And again, the reason why the number of customers went down is because we deactivate the disconnection of it. And so therefore, it does keep it as a receivable until we activate it again. And that's when it comes in and tells them.
You know, that's where I think you're gonna have to really do some reaching out to those customers. When it comes time to tell them, okay, now, we will start start disconnecting.
Yeah.
You need to give them a notice and say, you gotta come in the next 30 days or 45 days to set up a plan. And what you have to do is, whatever you're gonna consume now, you have to be current, and then you need to pay some of it back. So, all I'm saying is, that's the customers that, you know, we came up with this plan, Commissioner Sanchez, back, I think, 5 years ago, or?
The 6 month, or the
No, the prepaid, was John Kim about 6 years ago, or 5 years ago?
Number of years.
Or more?
Yeah.
Four?
For prepaid?
For prepaid.
Oh, it's over 5 years now.
It's over 5 years, right? So, I mean, we came up with this plan because these are the people that were constantly being disconnected. I mean, they get disconnected, and then they'll have to sign up and pay the deposit and go through some other things. And we said, why don't you just pay, and then when it warrants you, when you're running out, so you make another payment, but it allows you to make $50, $100 just to tide you over. But what we need to do is get back now to telling them, you gotta get back to the discipline, otherwise you're gonna lose power.
Yeah. Yes, what they call a debt recovery mechanism with it.
Good.
So whatever they pay, like they pay 50%, their bill here, they pay like 50, you know, so that'll be set up in the payment arrangement. So
Yeah,
they,
I think
they control their destiny again.
yeah, no, it's just that I think you need to, I'm very sensitive to, usually Commissioner Sanchez always reminds us that we need to reach out. The outreach has to be there, so that the people are aware, and you know, you don't want them yelling at the last minute, and you know, you gotta do the outreach.
Sir, if
Sure.
I may, right now, so John Kim is correct. The prepaid accounts are technically considered inactive because we're not disconnecting.
Okay.
However, at the beginning, or a couple of weeks into the emergency, what we did is we changed the way we text our prepaid customers. So now they receive 2 texts or emails per week to
Okay.
tell them what their current balance due is.
Okay.
So twice a week, they know how much they're consuming,
Very
and it's
good.
not in KWH, it's in dollars.
Question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does, for public housing, Section 8, does GORA subsidize part of their bill, their power bill?
That's my understanding.
Are they on prepaid?
To GORA, so James and GORA have been communicating. The GORA is putting information about GPA and their bills, including prepaid, in their newsletter.
Okay, so you minus that all out? I mean, if
There's
GORA
some-
pays part of it, and the customer pays part, are you know that?
No, GORA does.
Okay. Oh, they're supposed to pay, okay.
Hopefully.
Okay.
There's some discussions going on about them loading up their account and then letting them take care of the balance. So that's still an ongoing discussion, I think.
In terms of debt service coverage ratio, our senior is 1.7, the aggregate is about 1.52. So it was within our forecast. We were actually forecasting this.
Remember, our forecast was about a 10% drop in April, and the same in May. But May, I think it's going to be better, less than 8%. So we are tracking the projection that we provide.
Yes. When do you pay them, John? How often do you pay them? You pay them, most of your bonds are what, paid December and June?
Oh, no, the bonds are paid every 6 months. So the last bond payment was done in April 1st.
Oh.
Before that was up. Bonds every 6 months.
Okay. As long as the April check here and here.
Yes. So every month we actually.
And he has a lot of days to cash.
Yeah, they'll grumble.
In terms of the REAC on the report for April, about $2.4 million.
The cumulative?
Yeah, that's cumulative, yes.
Yeah.
Cumulative, yes. And that's it for my report.
Okay. Are there any other questions, commissioners? John Kim? There are no other questions. John, do you have any other business, or are we done?
That's all I
Okay.
have, Mr.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
And a second? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. We're adjourned.
It's still daylight.
Huh?